like some of them a while.
Like totally messed me up.
They're too broke.
Let's go back on the calendar.
Good evening. The hour being after 6:45 p.m., it is my high honor and privilege to call the March 3rd, 2022 school committee meeting to order. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next order of business, unfortunately, we'll begin with a moment of silence for a long-time Walpole Public School food service employee, Ms. Yasuko Noda, who was beloved by many in the Walpole High School and Elm Street School community. Thank you. We now move on to our second order of business, recognitions. We have 3 recognitions kind of piled up from the last few months of more streamlined meetings. We're very excited to have a number of students, artists, and creatives here tonight with us. Our first is a recognition of Ms. Charlotte Gray, winner of the Gold Regional Key. Dr. Goff.
Sure. Charlotte Gray is an 8th grader at Johnson Middle School. She won the Gold Key Regional Art Award for her painting that was submitted in this year's 2021-2022 Massachusetts Scholastic Art and Writing Award Program. Charlotte's Art Award is a remarkable achievement, and her artwork was recognized by a panel of creative professionals as the most outstanding work submitted and exemplified the award's core values of originality, technical skill, and the emergence of a personal vision. Charlotte's Gold Key Award-winning artwork was a personal artwork to attribute to a family member passing away from COVID. This artwork will be advanced to a national level of adjudication for a second opportunity to win a second award on the national scale, and her artwork will be exhibited in an online exhibition by mid-March. And it's very hard to get a gold key. I think, they give that to very few students in the state. So congratulations to Charlotte Gray. I don't know if she wants to come up with Mr. Morganweb.
Please come on down.
First off, I'd just like to say thank you for the recognition. It really means a lot to me, and I'd like to say thank you to my parents who've given me the inspiration, and thank you to my wonderful art teacher, Ms. Heim, who has also given me inspiration. I'm still baffled by the fact that I got this. I just thank you so much.
Well, thank you for joining us. Congratulations. Questions or comments from the committee? Don't go away just yet. Come on back.
Well, she can go.
That's okay.
Ms. Denisio.
Congratulations, Charlotte. I wanted to say that I'm sorry for your loss, but it is truly a remarkable thing to be able to channel grief into art and to create something amazing out of something that's very difficult. So I want to commend you for doing that, and this is absolutely amazing artwork. And we look forward to seeing what you do in the future. Thank you.
Further questions or comments from the committee?
Nice job.
Very good. We will make sure to include this in our school committee notes tomorrow. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Our next recognition is Dylan Needham, the Project 351 ambassador.
Sure.
Dr. Goff.
Bird Middle School Principal, Mr. Connor, is here, and will be with, and can, I don't know, I can introduce, and you can say any words that you. All right, will do. 8th grader Dylan Needham, who participated, and I think you're very familiar with Project 351. It's a community day of service where student volunteers from the Massachusetts 351 communities participate in this day of service. And in partnership with nonprofit leaders and educators, Project 351, it challenges, it motivates, and supports the young leaders' journey. Each year, ambassadors are invited to unite, act, and lead. And it's typically during a January celebration, and it's a service day in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King. It's a little bit different this year, I think some of it was online, so I'll leave it to Mr. Connor and Dylan to maybe explain, you know, what Project 351 entailed. So congratulations, Dylan, this is a wonderful honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Goff, members of the school committee. You heard what Project 351 is about, but I'd like to tell you a little bit about what an ambassador is. An ambassador is an 8th grade student that is selected by educators to serve and lead for a year of transformative service opportunities. Youth are selected for an exemplary ethic of service and the values of kindness, compassion, humility, and gratitude. You should know that Project 351 doesn't use an application process. They want to ensure that unsung heroes and quiet leaders are recognized by local educators who nominate and select their community's ambassador. And just, I wanted to read what one of the teachers wrote about Dylan when she nominated him to be the ambassador. I believe that Dylan Needham would make a phenomenal nominee for Project 351. He's a kind student who treats all of his classmates the same way. He works exceptionally well with students of all different abilities and treats them as his equal. He's a great participant in class and actively models the core values for BMS. He cares about his schoolwork, is kind to others, and gives a great effort in everything that he does. He's a team player and works well by himself and with anyone he is partnered up with. Dylan sees people's unique strengths and differences as something positive, an asset rather than something negative or a hindrance. He is very friendly and encouraging for people to be themselves. So now I'll let Dylan talk to you about some of the things he's done so far. And we have had to do more, or he has had to do more of these opportunities this year online due to COVID precautions. So without further
Mr.
ado,
Needham.
Dylan.
Hi, I haven't really done anything yet. I've been on like some Zoom calls, but I'm planning on doing stuff in the future.
Excellent. Questions or comments from the committee about your plans? Mrs. Gallivan and then Mr. Ahern.
I would just say, one of my favorite things is when students come to our meetings, because it's more interesting and more valuable than some of our other meetings. Let's just put it that way. So we make you very proud, and Charlotte and the rest of the students that are here this evening. It really, it's why we want to be on school committee, is because of kids like you. So that's great. And I think it's awesome what your teachers had to say about you, because I think that kind of leadership is it's something that'll serve you well, but it'll also serve the whole Walpole community. So thank you for being that kind of a leader.
Thank you.
Mr. Ahern and then Mr. Breen.
Yes, first, congratulations. And second, if you need anything, feel free to reach out. I have a student who was a Project 351 ambassador previously, and we're happy to support you.
Thank you.
Mr. Breen.
I would just say that student recognitions are perhaps the only enjoyable part of it.
Great work. Anything for Dr. Goff?
Yeah. And Dylan, I know it's a little bit different because typically the students go on that day, right? And participate in different volunteer opportunities and then figure out how to bring it back to their schools or their districts. So I know that when you were probably talking to them, did they mention like that there's going to be some future volunteer opportunities, or did they mention like are you going to be meeting within the next couple of months?
Yeah, I think I will be meeting with them.
Okay, so when they do that, like Mr. Ahern said, if it's something that, you know, we can help you with in terms of different projects or different volunteer opportunities, please reach out to us.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Further questions? Thank you very much for joining us. Our third recognition are music festival acceptances. I will stop myself with the urge to sing the rest of this, but we are very happy to have so many of you here in the deep and long tradition of musical academic excellence in the community of Walpole. So we have students who've continued to excel in their individual areas of musical expression. Present tonight, we have students who have been accepted into a number of honors ensembles, and there's an attached list of students who have done so. For those who don't know, my colleagues, music festivals consists of a day of intensive rehearsals on the first day and a second day of dress rehearsals, culminating in a final concert. You're basically taking an entire semester of high-level musical study and practice and cramming it into a weekend and creating some really wonderful music at the end that we all are quite proud of. So present tonight, we have our K-12 music director and high school band director, Tim Fleming, to explain more about these acceptances. He's joined by some of his other colleagues as well from the music department. Mr. Fleming, come on down.
So essentially, we have with us students everywhere from 7th grade until 12th grade. Students can audition based on their grade level, and we have junior and senior versions of all of our festivals. So we have something called districts, which is our region, which feeds into an all-state model. And then we have another local group that's called SEMSBA that is a little bit smaller and a little bit more intimate, that allows more opportunities for more students to audition. And we had 37 students in the district this year between 7th through 12th grade get accepted into a festival. Some of them were accepted into multiple festivals because they're just apparently don't have enough to do. Or they have too much time on their hands. And I mean, I think what would speak to itself is if I'd like them to stand or come up so they can be recognized for the hard work.
Please, if you'd like to stand, maybe come to the podium. If any of you would like to come to the podium and kind of express your experiences with the audition process, or if you have gone to festivals in previous years, what it was like for you, please feel free to do so now. Don't all jump at once.
So
There we go.
We've only had one person who's had any experience because there's been delays.
Delays,
Right.
excellent, okay. But please.
I would just like to say thank you for the opportunities to be a part of a bigger ensemble. Districts did get postponed, senior districts, but like I've gone in the past years, and it's just amazing to be a part of other very talented singers who show initiative. And like I've been doing it since like 5th grade all state, and now I'd just like to see progress, and I'm so glad all of you guys auditioned, so good job. But yeah, thank you for the opportunity to be a part of something bigger.
Anything further?
This is my first year getting into senior districts. I'm a junior, and I'd like to say that it is about what you put your heart into, but it's also about perseverance, because sometimes you don't always get in, and sometimes you have a very successful audition. In this year, that's what my audition was. And everyone here had a very successful audition as well, and I'm very proud of all of them for succeeding in their passions. And of course, COVID makes the time a little bit more challenging, because you need to maintain social distancing, and for orchestra, sometimes that can be hard because there has to be more stands and seats and everything. But I'm really happy that I get to share my music with all these other musicians.
I'd also just like to thank all of you guys for really supporting these festivals for us and making sure that our music programs can keep them running and keep students coming back every year, because I can't stress enough how important they are for truly introducing the spirit of music to everyone. Because students from around your districts and from around Massachusetts, you'll never meet them unless you go and do something with them. And being able to make such beautiful music with people that you haven't met before, but feeling that connection with them on a level that you can't really emulate anywhere else, is something that's really special. And for me, I've been doing it since 7th grade, and each one of these experiences has given me something new that I use every day in my music playing. So it's really great that you guys spend all this time making sure that we are able to do all of these things in school. So thank you so much.
He wasn't a plant either. Anything further? Questions from the committee? Ms. Zyreck?
I would like to say, as a fellow music geek, nerd, whatever the right word is, this is something. Yeah, this is something that I did through junior high and through high school, and I think even if music isn't something that you do for the rest of your life in the same way, I think you're right. The judging process, the figuring out what you want to do and performing it and going through the process to then get accepted is something that builds confidence, helps you further on in your career. And then, like you said, the combination of people from around the state or around the district to then come together in a weekend to perform something that's pretty amazing. It's something that you'll if you don't go into music and perform forever, it's something you don't have ever again. And I still remember very fondly the relationships that I built and the experience of performing with that group and doing something so quickly and sharing something that passionate. So congratulations. I applaud you guys all.
Questions or comments from the committee? Mrs. Gallivan?
Yeah, I would just like to say, I think it's so important for people to find something that they're passionate about. And the fact that you have put yourselves out there shows that you are passionate. And like, I forget each of your names, but what one of you said about the perseverance. If you love something, just go for it. It's great, and you make us proud, so thank you.
Dr. Goff?
Like Ms. Zyreck, I went through the Walpole Public School System and was a violist. Where there's one violist here, is that person? All right. All right. And, you know, it's a tremendous amount of hard work, and I know the butterflies when you're trying, or there's two, where's my other one? Two, all right. All right, there we go, thank you. It's amazing, the commitment that you put in, the hard work, but also kudos to Mr. Fleming, because the number of students and your support, and who else is, oh yes, Mr. Bedrosian, Ms. Knight, all of you, thank you, because without supporting and being able to work with these students and take them to the festivals, it wouldn't be possible, and the numbers have just grown by leaps and bounds, so. Thank you.
Anything further from the committee? Seeing none, thank you all so much for coming and sharing with us your gifts and talents this evening. You're free to stay through our other parts of the business meeting, but we will pause for a moment. We know as musicians and artists and community servants, you probably have a lot going on, so we'll be attentive to that. So thank you again. Have a good evening.
That's very cool.
Really?
I know. Every single one.
Still have some of that you
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Always nice to have something.
It's to Needham to speakers.
So I'll include Scott in mine.
You know, no, that's exactly.
Yeah, there's an indoor track banquet tonight.
Oh,
for my
okay.
daughter.
Right.
She's just more comfortable than we were. Yeah.
Our high school student report is being tabled until the superintendent's report.
I'll include that.
She will include that. We next move on to new business. Out-of-state field trip requests. Dr. Goff.
Yes, present tonight is Emily Murray, who's requesting an out-of-state field trip for the speech and debate students who qualified for the national speech tournament in DC. And she'll give you the dates, and we'll answer any questions that you may have.
Ms. Murray, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Yes. So this year we had 4 students qualify for the NCFL National Tournament, which is going to be in person in DC, May 26th through May 30th. And this is actually the largest group we've ever taken to nationals. We've usually just taken one student, and usually it's the parent, and then I meet up with them and I judge while the parent chaperones. So it's really exciting to have 4 students go. There are 2 senior girls and a junior boy and a junior girl that are going. And 3 of their parents are coming because they just want to come. So I have a lot of chaperones, and I will be judging. And then another parent may judge because she just likes to judge, which is just fabulous because we always need judges. So we're really excited. We're going to travel Thursday afternoon or probably Thursday evening, and then have that Friday to check in and to prepare, and then they compete Saturday and Sunday. Some debate rounds start Friday, so there's a chance they could be competing that Friday afternoon. So it's kind of good to kind of just have that one day of, to catch up or compete. But we're really excited because it's, again, a big group, so.
Dr. Dr. Goff?
I just wanted to note that Emily did connect with Nurse Garvin, because as you know in your packet, there's some procedures right now in terms of making sure that chaperones are aware in case someone tests positive, or what they might have to do in terms of, whatever the guidelines might be in DC. So that's all in your packets, and Emily is aware of that.
Questions or comments from the committee? Mr. Breen?
Motion to approve the debate team field trip to DC.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Breen, second by Ms. Zyreck. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 700.
All
Good
right.
luck.
Thank you very much.
Tell us how you go.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Our next order of business is out-of-state field trip request and waiver of the 30-day notice requirement for the Old Post Road Hot Hoppers to Kittery, Maine and Keene, New Hampshire.
Yes, so present tonight is Erica Green to request an out-of-state field trip for the Old Post Road Hot Hoppers to Kittery, Maine on March 26, 2022. Ms. Green is requesting the waiver for the 30-day notice requirement, and will answer any questions you have. Due to COVID and, everything that's gone on, I do recommend a vote to approve the trip and to waive the 30-day requirement. Ms. Green?
Questions or comments from the committee? Oh, if you please.
I'm super excited that I think we're about ready to go compete again. We're very inexperienced right now because we just started a club, but I'm excited to give our inexperienced students a chance to get this great experience to go and jump rope up in New Hampshire, so I'm super pumped. I also had one on there for May as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions or comments from the committee? Mr. O'Hearn?
Just a quick question. You mentioned compete. So are these competitions or like show?
This is
things?
jump rope competitions, so we
Okay.
compete in speed, we do double unders, we do freestyle, double dutch, and yeah, it's fantastic. But we'll see where we go. We're very new at it now because it's been 3 years, so I'm excited about giving them the opportunity, so.
As long as Sean and I don't have to do it, we're.
Yeah.
Mrs. Gallivan?
I just think it's great that you continue to bring this to the kids. It's a fantastic opportunity for
Thank
them,
you.
so thanks for doing it. And I think that the idea of waiving the 30 days is a no-brainer. I mean, we've been adapting all along, and 30 days ago, there was more uncertainty than there is today, so I'm perfectly fine with that.
Awesome.
But thanks for doing it.
Mr. Denisio?
I think this sounds really exciting. I'm just curious if there's a cost associated for the students.
They just have to pay $20.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, and every parent drives their child.
Cool.
Yeah.
Further questions or comments? Mr. Breen?
Motion to approve both the Kittery and Keene trips.
Can you do the waiver first?
Oh, motion to approve the 30-day waiver for both the Keene and Kittery trips.
Excellent. All those in favor?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Denisio. All those in favor? Opposed, abstained, 700.
And motion to approve both the Keene and Kittery trips.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Breen, second by Ms. Denisio. All those in favor? Opposed, abstained, 700. Very good.
Thank you.
Come back and tell us how you did.
All right, we will.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Moving on, our next order of new business is foreign language update. Dr. Goff.
Yes, Lisa Osborne is present tonight, and we'll give you the foreign language update. The Steeler Thunder.
World language.
Sorry, world language.
This is gonna seem a lot less fun.
Still
Yeah,
good.
for all the
It's
great
it's not math and
kids and-
science, it's good.
That's
Right.
great stuff.
It'll be for
Take it
the
away.
world. So the big news in our department and statewide is that we adopted new frameworks in April of 2021. So what I want to do is go through information about what's in the new frameworks and basically where we're coming from as language teachers as far as everything that's always worked in the past for us. So I'm going to bring you back to 1999 just to kind of set the stage. Bill Clinton was president. Lance Armstrong won his first Tour de France. And on TV, The Sopranos, West Wing, and SpongeBob SquarePants debuted. And it was our first iteration of the frameworks that have not been touched in 21 years. So this is a real big deal to us that finally, it's worth the wait because they're great, but it's been a long time. So, and I don't think they're still done, but we're in good shape. So just to take you through some of the changes and to explain what's always happened and been essential with our standards. So I do have a PowerPoint, but you have.
Yeah, it just came up.
Oh, it just came up, okay. So the first change is that we are referring to ourselves as the World Language Department. And this was a decision made because we feel foreign language doesn't reflect the students that are in our classrooms. We have students who are, their first language is Spanish, Portuguese, Arabic, and so to call these languages foreign is no longer accurate of who our students are. So now we want world language, meaning it's a language other than English. So we have a little bit of a rebranding. You know, I still hear foreign language. We still have two of our major organizations, ACTFL and MAFLA, that are using foreign, which will probably change. But from now on, we are known as the World Language Department to be more inclusive of all of the diversity of our students. And then to kind of talk you through some of the changes with the guiding principles. So excuse me if I stutter, because this is still confusing for me to go through all of the things. But with our students now, we have a more holistic approach of what we want our students to, how we want our students to benefit in our program. In 1999, if you looked at the guiding principles, there was a real definition of what kind of language competence we wanted our kids to have when they graduated from high school. But now we are structuring in some of the other standards that everyone in the state is structuring in as well. It reflects 21st century goals, and so I'm going to introduce some of those to you as we go along. Some of the new words that we see in our guiding principles: inclusive, measuring growth, risk-taking, differentiation, social and emotional growth, and social justice. And those are now weaved into our frameworks with the standards that we've already had. So as far as proficiency, that was the third bullet on the guiding principle, and I want to be able to explain to you proficiency because this is the buzzword that all language teachers use, and it's how we measure our students' growth. Proficiency is how well students are doing with their language, what they can do with the language. It's not how many years they've taken a language. It's not how well they do at grammar or how many vocabulary words they've memorized, but what they can show us with the language. And that's how we measure the standards of our students and what levels they're at and what we can do to, we say, level them up to get them better at their language. So with these frameworks, unlike other content areas, social studies, math, where there's a prescribed curriculum, our frameworks don't have a prescribed curriculum. We don't have a scope and sequence. We don't use textbooks. So I know that if you look at some of the other frameworks, I'm not well versed in the other frameworks, but for example, math, you might say at a certain grade they need to know ratios. If they're studying Algebra 2, they need to know polynomials. We don't see any of that in our frameworks. Instead, we see a lot of descriptions and benchmarks for how we want our students to get better with length of language, complexity of language. I had a typo in there, I had complicity, but length and complexity of language and the topics that they're able to use when they're speaking and using the language. So this slide, I was thorough, it's all fine, but the slide with the proficiency, I will not get into the granular of the 5 language components, but when we measure language, we measure on function, text type, it's all in the granular, comprehensibility, context, function, text type, supports, and comprehensibility. So again, this is probably a lot of gobbledygook to you, but if you teach a language, then these are the rubrics that we make. This is how we make our language programs. This is how we design our curriculum. And then on the next one with the standards, this basically, the standards, this is our pyramid, and basically this is our framework.
So when we talk about standards and descriptors, this is what it is. We decide, looking at our students, what level they're at. Basically, at the high school level and middle school level, we're talking about novice, intermediate, and advanced learners. And using the slide that I showed you before with the different functions, we determine where a student is on the proficiency scale. So if we know where they are on the proficiency scale, then we know what standards they've met and what we need to add in to have them move up the proficiency scale. So this is mostly based on communication, but with our new frameworks, there are 3 domains: communication, culture, and lifelong learner. The proficiencies pyramid focuses mostly on communication. And so as teachers, our goal in our department is to make sure that our courses align as much as possible with these proficiency marks, so that if we have a student in Spanish 3, our goal is to get them to either intermediate mid or intermediate high, again, based on what kids are able to do. As teachers, we need to be very familiar with these descriptors in the pyramid. We need to be very familiar with the benchmarks, with the rubrics, so that we can discuss together and make vertical alignment and write curriculum and align our curriculum based on these benchmarks. So the frameworks are full of pages of a lot of these definitions. It's also very important that teachers understand high leverage teaching and the core practices to get students to be better at language. And so that was my slide with the core practices. There are 6 of them. Number 1 is teaching in the language. We want our teachers to teach 90% in the language and avoid English or English translation or Google Translate as much as possible. We use authentic resources. So earlier I said that we don't use textbooks, and we have teachers doing a lot of research on a daily basis for podcasts, newspaper article, Twitter feed, YouTubers, to make sure that we can keep our content relevant and current with the topics that we're presenting to our students. And we're presenting materials that would be used in that target language, not something that's written for a textbook. Number 3, oral communication. So I think Walpole has always prided itself on the ability that our students have to speak in class. We, every day we have students that are answering questions or asking questions, role play, games in the target language, use of the language lab, common assessments that have to do with speaking tasks, and again, our students graduate very strong in communication, speaking, and writing, because those are things that, speaking especially, we really emphasize with our students. Number 4, backwards design. So our district is very well versed in backwards design, and that's one of the core practices to make sure that in order to level up, I keep using level up because I want you to keep thinking about that pyramid, we have to say, what's the next task that we need our students to do? How do we get them there? What grammar do they need to know? What vocabulary do we need to add in to get them to be able to do a task? So for example, listing the objects in your classroom might be a novice task. So we think, well, how will we design a task that students will be able to do that, as opposed to write a letter to your neighbor explaining why you're quitting your babysitting job because you just can't work with those kids anymore or something like that. So we try to make it real world, but obviously there's a big difference between those 2 tasks. And so what do we have to do to get the kids to level up for each task? Number 5, I mentioned a little bit, teaching grammar according to the task. So if any of you studied language, and I did as well in high school, it was turn the page for the next verb tense, turn the page for the next pronouns, turn the page for the next indirect objects. And we really want to be very thoughtful and deliberate about our grammar so that it's focused on a task and not just focused on grammar for the sake of teaching grammar. And then the last one, number 6, providing oral feedback, which in our district, I see our teachers doing a great job doing. If you answer a question in the target language, you don't hear our teachers just saying, excelente or très bien. You see teachers, there's really an art form to giving oral feedback to maybe correcting a pronunciation mistake or correcting a grammar mistake or finding a way to elicit more language from the student. So when teachers get together during the year, these are the things that we talk about, our core practices and our high leverage teaching, and we share ideas for what's working with us in the class, rather than going around the room and discussing what we've covered and what we haven't covered. It's really more about what skills that we're teaching. And then measuring proficiency, so that's the next one, talking about how do we measure proficiency? How do we know that our students are getting better? We use 2 outside assessments. One of them is the Apple test, and that's what we use for the Seal of Biliteracy. It's a computer test, and you've heard me talk about the Seal of Biliteracy before. Students have done very well on our Seal of Biliteracy exams, and they've been recognized not only in French and Spanish, in addition with the MCAS in French and Spanish, but also in Arabic, Russian, Portuguese. We have so many different, Haitian Creole. We have different students, again, who brought their language to Walpole. And the Seal of Biliteracy is to recognize all students of all their different language abilities. And then in-house, we have common assessments. So at the high school, every term, each teacher in the modern languages gives a common oral assessment and a common written assessment. And when we have time, we get together as a group, as languages. The Spanish teachers may get together, the French teachers may get together. We listen to a student sample. We go over our rubric and we discuss, I say, grow and glow. So where are they glowing? What looks great? And in what areas do they need to grow? And we have a discussion about, again, our teaching practices, what is missing from the student to bump them up the next level. Does this proficiency level match with, again, the student's grade? And so those discussions are very fruitful just from listening to the student samples and having discussions. And then I think I'm on the moving forward. Oh, no, I'm sorry. How are we using the rubrics, the mass frameworks in informing our instruction? So we've had a lot of successes this year. We ran, during Ed Camp, there were 4 teachers who ran in-house Ed Camp Zoom meetings where they talked about differentiation, high leverage teaching practices, and we had a lot of in-house experts and collaboration. We had a vertical meeting with middle school and high school teachers where we got together and shared ideas for differentiation. And the final product was a Google Doc that we still refer to for ideas for differentiating instruction. Both at the middle school and high school level, we ran a little in-house workshop where we practiced writing using our proficiency benchmarks, writing in English. So at the end, we had a product of a large map showing what different students looked like according to the proficiency level. So we took a lot of those descriptions and just put it into practice, where each teacher had the same prompt, but it was answered at a different level of length and complexity to show what the different levels of proficiency were in writing. And then moving forward, we still have a lot of work to do. So we have social, emotional, and social justice standards that need to be interwoven into our UBD guides. We are using the UBD guide that was developed about 5 years ago. We had a consultant come in that worked with us to help tweak our UBD guide based on the social studies guide that was put together, but it was tweaked a little bit more for language. But now we need to add those 2 standards into our backwards design UBD guide. Fortunately, DESI has come out with 14 modules that are asynchronous learning opportunities. They're 30-minute modules where teachers on their own time can watch the modules and learn about the frameworks. I'm hoping to use some PLC time to have a watch party with teachers so that we can watch some of these modules together and have discussions afterwards and talk about how it applies to our teaching. And lastly, DESI is using synchronous webinars that teachers can join and collaborate with other teachers from other communities. So they're helping us out quite a bit to roll out the frameworks so that everybody's on board. Walpole is in good shape, though. We have teachers that are very well versed in the proficiency descriptors and the proficiency benchmarks. Sorry, Mr. Breen. Not as exciting as the other group, but. I do have a slide that's dangling. It says middle school technology because I didn't finish my slides before I needed to hand them to Mary. So what this slide is about is nothing specific, but just to inform you that, you know, with our new middle school coming, I'm hoping to do some research within the next 3 years so that we have some kind of platform that's codified that all teachers can use, either using one-to-one Chromebooks. There's a platform that I've researched that uses MacBooks, so perhaps MacBook carts, but however, 3 years down the road, they might have apps or they might have the platform to work with PCs. Google is always coming out with things. There are cloud-based versions. There are versions that use a school server. So I just wanted you to know I'm keeping my eye out for what could be a good fit for the middle school. But there's nothing specific there. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Osborne. Questions from the committee? Mrs. Gallivan?
I'd just like to comment that I think that Walpole High and the district as a whole is in very good shape. And
our teachers we're getting more and more veteran teachers. They're strong, and the favorite part of my job is observing teachers, because I just go into their rooms and I say, I'm stealing that, I'm stealing that. We just have great teachers. Our kids are in good hands.
Well, yeah, and you did a really nice job explaining, you know, the thoughtfulness that you bring to your responsibility. For people that don't know, Lisa took over for a guy who was very hard to fill his shoes. George Watson was
Still is.
He
he's
was
larger
the
than life.
Massachusetts Teacher of the Year, and he built an amazing department, but you're doing just as well, and it's,
thank you.
you know, you should feel good about the thoughtfulness that you bring to your job, because I think that Walpole's known for a strong world language department.
I agree. Our students who go on to study in college often contact us and say, I'm the star of the class, do you believe it? And I say, yes, I do, but
Yeah.
they're surprised at how strong their language skills are when they go off to college.
No, it's true, and I see a lot of kids in that 20-something-year-old group, and they pride themselves
They do.
on being able to, you know, and they're critical. Like, I would say, well, they're bilingual. They'll be like, no, not really, but, you know, they're very capable in
right.
another language, so.
That's right.
You're doing
And
a
they
great
have
job.
an appreciation for
Mhm.
other cultures and other languages.
Thank you.
Ms. Denisio?
Thank you for this presentation. It was really exciting to see the new frameworks.
Yes, it's very in the weeds, so I get
No,
that.
I
but
think
yeah.
I thought it was great because, you know, as somebody who may or may not have been in 1999 taking high school Spanish, you know, it just makes me think like, wow, I wish these were in place back then. You know, like I think there's a whole generation that would have had stronger language skills.
Right.
And I'm gonna steal a question that I think Mrs. Gallivan asked a lot, which is, you know, if you had an opportunity and you had more resources to look at expanding the world language department in Walpole, where would you go? Would you think about offering additional languages? Would you think about a grade level expansion? What would be your dream?
So I would say a grade level expansion. Right now we have exploratory in the 6th grade, and it would be wonderful when the new school came together to really consider making 6th grade a full-time language program. Because the sooner kids start, the sooner kids get that proficiency, you know, the stronger they're going to be. So that would be my dream. That was something that George tried to start. It's just always things kind of get pushed aside, and so that would be my dream. 6th grade, 5th grade, 4th grade, you know. Start with 6th, then move our way down. But thank you for that question.
Further questions? Mr. Hart?
Here's a quick question about, not necessarily curriculum, because you mentioned there aren't a lot of resources, but the teachers are doing a lot of work on their own. Is there components that maybe other districts have in place to limit that?
To limit the work? that
To
we-
limit the work or to bring all those resources together in a more effective way?
So, teachers, language teachers are a very generous bunch. And I think there's not one big database per se, but we follow each other on Twitter, Pinterest. We share modules when we go to conferences. AP has many different workout groups where we have material available to us. But you're right, some of us are reinventing the wheel, but some of us just keep sharing, and so I think that's a lot of what we're finding is on the internet, in our groups, sharing that way. Yeah.
If I could add to that, I think our World Language Department under Lisa's leadership is one of the most forward-thinking in terms of the development of UBDs. Lisa's had a role leading our district in that work through other departments. And so I think you see that dedication, that commitment to that work years ago. I mean, you were, like I said, one of the first departments to really know that was the direction, paying off in terms of like providing real guidelines for new teachers as they arrive, or even our veteran teachers to share resources to kind of capture the resources in the right place. And so I think that a compliment of that department and Lisa's work under that department, and that's how they capture that, so that it's not just a blog they're following, but really how they're making sure that the curriculum's coherent and in line with now these standards. And Lisa and I got to attend a world language standards kind of introduction, I guess we'll call it, on Tuesday. And one of the things that I felt as an outsider, because I'm not super familiar with these, is how well prepared and how well situated Walpole is because of our teachers and because Lisa's leadership. A lot of the things that are in these standards Lisa's been talking about for many, many years. And so I think that makes a difference to your question as well, Sean.
And if I didn't answer your question correctly, within our school system, we do have the UBD units, and we are sharing. If I can just give an example, we have a teacher who's been out for this week, for 5 days this week. 2 of her fellow teachers have done her planning, put the work in her Google Classroom. It's just all very seamless because of the sharing that goes on within our department. So statewide, again, that's attending conferences and kind of networking. But within our school, middle school, high school, we share many, many materials. We're all on the same page. That's really great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Zyreck.
I just want to say you guys must be doing something right, because my son is taking his 3rd year of Latin.
Yay!
And loves it.
That's great.
And also, I will say, when I went to the open house, and you sit in the classroom, and the Latin teachers, it's not just, oh, we're doing these things. It's like, here's the game we're doing with
That's
kids,
right.
and here's the, Roman culture where you would go through these things and curse people or learn this spell. I mean, but it was just so interesting, and it just showed that it's not just like when I took French,
Right, conjugate.
here's the words, repeat after me, blah, blah, blah. So I think, there are a lot of good things happening that I'm seeing from my junior taking his 3rd year of Latin.
Oh, well, I'll
So-
pass that on, because they do a lot of project-based learning in Latin. That's very interesting. And also this year, for the first time, we started a Greek mythology semester course, which is really taking off.
Cool.
So, and that's open to anyone. I mean, there's no prerequisite. So, yeah, Latin's rocking. Thank you. I'll pass that on.
All right. Anything further? Very good. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
thank you.
Good job, Lisa.
Duncan.
Oh, man. It's a long night.
He's on a roll. He's on a roll.
Number 5, he is. Number 5 is Superintendent Report. Dr. Goff, please take it away.
Okay, I'd just like to read Scotty Cameron's report. He wanted to let everybody know, the school committee know, that first off, the math team just completed their playoff meet. Actually, a few hours ago, he said. After months of hard work, they were previously 7th among many teams and hope to continue their success once the results from today's meet is determined. Also, the National Honor Society just finished their February service event, where they partnered with Monster Mini Golf in Norwood to provide $7 for every game to the Medfield Animal Shelter. While they don't know the official amount yet, he said that they raised over at least $250. This month, they're planning on a bake sale to support a local Boston organization called Sunflower of Peace, which mobilizes medical and humanitarian aid for the Ukrainians. Additionally, Best Buddies had their Inclusion Day yesterday, where the club had a banner that many members of the school signed to pledge to support inclusion. In regards to sports, Scotty said that after a hard-fought season, both the girls and boys hockey team have their first playoff game tonight, where they hope to continue the successes they've had throughout the season. Similarly, both boys and girls basketball teams have playoff games tomorrow night. Since both games are at home, they're back-to-back. There will definitely be a strong student presence to support the teams. Additionally, the gymnastics team culminated an amazing end to their season, finishing 7th in the Bay State Championship meet a few weeks ago. And finally, the winter track season officially ended, with the boys ending 5th in their division and the girls finishing 3rd. However, they're both sending a smaller group of athletes to the New England meet this weekend and nationals next weekend. Overall, Mr. Cameron reports the school has been lively as ever. As things continue to come back to normal, definitely one of the most exciting pieces of news were those lunch tables. Return to the CAP so students can now eat with all of their friends. So he says in conclusion, Mr. Cameron would like to thank you for everything that you all do to make Walpole Public Schools a place where students can learn and grow, not only academically, but with countless activities, events, and clubs. Great. Now my, exciting, energetic report, right? After I have to follow Scotty Cameron's. COVID. As you know, the last time we were here, I believe we had 76 positive cases from 1:30 to 2:05. And then the following week of 2:06, we had 43, and then the week of 2:13 was down to 15. There were no reports over break, so this Saturday, my update will include the vacation week and this week. I think there's approximately 20 when you put the 2 weeks together. From the health department, Melissa informed me today that Walpole's positivity rate continues to decline. The positivity rate as of today is 3.7%. That was down from 4.63%, and I think the last time we were here it was probably 10%, which was a significant decrease. If you remembered, a few weeks ago it was like 20%. Vaccination updates, I know you wanted to report to that. Both middle schools are at 69%. The elementary schools, we have Boyden at 51%, Fisher at 67%, Elm at 60%, and OPR at 63%. I didn't put the high school, but the high school's still like around 86%. The health department is offering weekly clinics again for 12 and up. That's the Pfizer, 18 and up, Moderna. On Tuesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. and Thursdays 4 to 6 p.m. at the old police station. There's also a clinic this Saturday from 5 to 11 at the old police station. They do plan, the department, on offering more clinics for 5 and up, and the principals will distribute that in their weekly e-notes, and I'll get that out as well. Just a reminder, I think you all saw my email on Sunday, because in typical fashion, Sunday, there was the notice that that masks are no longer required on school buses, so that was sent out to all the families. So we just have to remember that, as always, any individual who wishes to continue to mask needs to be supported in that choice, and that masking is still required in all of the health offices. And just a reminder, for those who don't feel well, please stay home. And I'm just saying, it's exciting to have these field trip requests back. These both out of state and overnight. Strategic planning, just a reminder, is March 8th. Mary sent the official agenda out today, and that's so we can review our progress towards achieving our goals and outline and take a look at prioritizing our action steps. And then also I wanted to make a note about preschool. Peer placement just went out for the 2022-2023 school year, and next year we must do a lottery system due to the volume of applications. We probably have about 25 or so on our wait list, and Julie Martin, preschool director, sent home letters notifying parents, just letting them know for each class there's 8 spots available for peer models, and the remaining spots are for children with special education needs. So as a result, that limits our number of spots. However, there is typically movement throughout the spring and summer, and slots do become available. And in the letter, she let families know that if they would like to remain on the wait list, to notify her. And it is her hope to accommodate as many families as possible. And if anybody has a specific question or concern, they can reach out to Julie Martin. And then finally, as the events in Russia and Ukraine unfold, we know that they can have varying impacts on both children and adults. So Mr. Hahn and I thought it would be helpful, and thank him for sharing some resources that principals can include in their e-notes at the end of the week. And we do know that families appreciate when we send resources that are helpful to communicating with our children. And we recognize the importance of working together to provide, stability and reassurance for all of our students. So thank you.
Questions for the good doctor? Mrs. Gallivan.
Just one quick one about the preschool.
Mm-hmm.
Have parents been notified if their child can go to preschool or if they're on the waiting list?
Yes.
They've been notified already?
Everything's gone home.
Okay, thanks.
Anything further? Mr. Hearn.
Can you refresh my memory on how many preschool rooms there are? Is it like 6 or 7? Yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the total. I don't want to miss, but I'll get you that number, because you have half day, and then you have
Right.
full day, and then
The
your morning
different
session,
days.
and then you have an afternoon session on different days of the week. But I'll get you that definite number, sure.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Seeing none, moving on to old business, budget update. We go to Mr. Fisher, who brought his own name tag tonight. We'll be looking at your line item, make sure that didn't go up. Looks expensive.
Do you want me to start? Just on Monday, I'm trying to remember, Monday, it was Monday. We had our wonderful finance committee meeting. It was a long meeting, but it was a good meeting. We were able to talk about the overall budget, our comprehensive budget, as well as the positions that were needed and the rationale for the position. So everything that you have heard previously. I thought the questions were excellent. They were more questions for just trying to learn, for clarification. There's a vast amount of experience in that group, from people who have special education experience, other people talking about the importance of media literacy in terms of, and also STEM and engineering and technology. So it was a great meeting. They did not vote. They'll vote on next Thursday, so we'll just come back for the vote and be able to make any clarifications or answer any questions they may have. The only difference to bring to your attention was in the comprehensive for the special education was another line item, and Michael will mention that.
Okay, the one thing I would add to that is we still have a $120,000 gap. And we're hopeful that we can work with the town administrator to close that gap, and if not with his help, then I know within our own means, we'll be able to work through that as well. So I would say the item that the superintendent's pointing out is a circuit breaker carryover. For the first time ever, we delivered some really positive news to the finance committee, who's really never gotten this message before. Due to COVID and some reworkings of the circuit breaker account and the way it's calculated, which is it's a way that the state can assist us with heavy tuition expenses. We have a surplus of, we're estimating at this point approximately $850,000, and that is going to be placed in what we call circuit breaker carryover account, which will in effect be a reserve account for us to buffer us from having to go to, as we've done in the past, to the finance committee for extra support financially when we get into situations where tuitions rise above what we budgeted. That was our only means to help ourselves, was to reach out to them for extra support. We shared the fact that this is a buffer, and that a pretty significant buffer that will buy us a lot of time, hopefully in the long run, to not have to go back to the finance committee and work within our own means to take care of challenges that we're facing. So I think that was very well received, and they were very happy to hear that things are going well financially for us.
Questions from the committee relative to the budget? Mr. Hearn.
Is it possible to get an updated version of the cumulative?
I figured once that everything is, voted through, we can get you that next week, get you the updated comprehensive or any changes in FTE.
Anything further on the budget? Seeing none, moving on. Solar project update. Mr. Fisher.
So I included in your packet, just a generalized update of how we are doing with our 3 solar projects. So just to remind everyone, the Fisher Elementary School has a rooftop array, 200 kilowatt rooftop array proposed. Old Post Road, 146,000 kilowatt rooftop system. And on Robbins Road in front of the Johnson Middle School in that parking area across the street, we are proposing a canopy system that would go in there. I've been working with David Ruggiero, the town, energy and efficiency expert, who works with several towns, and he's helping us, guiding us through that process. Select Energy is a vendor we're working with, and we are working with the town as well to make sure that we account for all the steps that we need to go through as these projects move forward. Eventually, they will move on to the town meeting, and we will seek approval to have those projects installed over the summer, hopefully, knock on wood, without backup on, supply issues. So that's our goal with the solar projects. Things are going well at this point, and I will definitely keep you up to date on that.
And we have finance committee for this article as well, right? In the coming weeks, next week?
We do, actually, yes, you're right.
Questions from the committee relative to solar project? Seeing none. Moving speedily along, we have middle school building project. Chair, Mr. Breen.
So just a couple of things, thank you. The building committee meets this Tuesday, and most importantly, there's a public forum this Wednesday. So I won't take too much time now for any updates. I don't want to spill the beans. So this Wednesday, if people are interested, they could tune in, and we'll have a lot more information then.
Excellent. Mr. Hearn.
Just a note on that, it's the registration's required, so
Yes.
you'll have
Good
to
point, yeah.
Right.
register ahead of time.
So you click the link, it'll bring you to the middle school project webpage, and then you'll see the registration link.
Yeah, it's a quick turnaround.
Excellent. Anything else on middle school? Seeing none, moving on to subcommittee activity. Anything? Seeing none. Citizens' comments. Seeing no citizens. Approval of warrants, donations, and minutes.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the following expense warrants for the amounts listed in your packets. Warrants 222033, 222034, and 222035.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hearn, second by Ms. Denisio. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 700.
I'd also like to make a motion to approve the following payroll warrants for the amounts listed in your packet. Those warrant numbers are 2232 PA and 2234 PA.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hearn, second by Ms. Denisio. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 700. Someone like to take donations?
Yes, I will make a motion to approve the following gifts and donations: to Boyden School, Old Post Road School, Elm Street School, Bird Middle School, and Johnson Middle School from Bay State Textiles Recycling in the amount of $276. And to Daniel Feeney Preschool from Life Touch National School Studios Commission in the amount of $384.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Denisio, second by Ms. Zyreck. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 700. Take minutes.
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to approve the February 10th, 2022 school committee meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Zyreck, second by Ms. Denisio. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 700. The chair declares there is a need for executive session relative to purpose 3. You have Sean's answer first?
Preschool.
All right.
I have your answer. You
We'll
ready?
stop.
So there's 7, but there's 2 that are full day, and then you have, the others are split between morning and afternoon. So not 7 full day
Full day,
classes, but.
yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. There is a need for executive session. The chair declares that there is a need for executive session under purpose 3 for the purpose of union and non-union negotiation strategies where a open session would hamper the district's ability to bargain in good faith. The chair will entertain a motion to go into executive session for purpose 3 with returning only for adjournment.
Second. Oh, motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Breen, second by Mr. Hearn. Chair will poll the committee. Mr. Denisio.
Yes.
Mr. Hearn.
Yes.
Mr. Breen.
Yes.
Mrs. Gallivan.
Yes.
Ms. Zyreck.
Yes.
Mr. Buckley votes yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Gales.
Yes.
Excellent. We will only be returning for the purposes of adjournment. Thank you very much and have a good evening.